Halloween night, a crowded college town. A young 21-year-old woman walks into her home after having a night out with her friends. And then a short time later, she walks back out into the darkness for some unknown reason. And shortly before dawn breaks on a brand new day, she vanishes into the night and has never been seen again. It's been almost 25 years since she went missing. But tonight we're going to be diving deep into one of the most haunting unsolved disappearances in true crime history. This is the mystery of Cindy Song. Greetings. I'm Ted, your host, and welcome back to Night Owl. Tonight we're off to Penn State University in Pennsylvania, where we'll be looking into a mystery that has been unsolved and unanswered for almost a quarter of a century. Today we'll be talking about the story of Cindy Song. She was born Hung Jung-sun in Seoul, Korea on February 25th, 1980. When she was a teenager, though, she moved in with relatives that lived in Virginia in the States. The whole family had hopes that she'd get a better education there. And after she was done with high school, she enrolled in Penn State University in Pennsylvania. Now, her friends would describe her as being very social and outgoing, as well as being artistic and ambitious. She was very independent and heavily involved in campus activities, especially when it involved the Korean student community. Now, as I always said, she was very artistic. In fact, a lot of her curriculum was based on different art forms. She, in fact, studied a class about integrative arts, and was reported that she also loved photography, film, as well as writing. And she even worked multiple jobs while she was at school, and was said to be very responsible and future-oriented. In fact, she had plans to attend a Britney Spears concert that was coming up, and she was looking forward to her graduating in 2002. Then came Halloween night, 2001. She dressed up as a big pink bunny. She had a pink shirt, white skirt, bunny ears, and knee-high boots. Then she went out with her friends to a place called the Players Nightclub. It was a spot downtown. After the club closed at around 2 a.m., the group went to another friend's apartment where they hung out and played video games for a few hours. Then somewhere between 3:30 and 4 a.m., Cindy was dropped off by a friend of hers named Stacy. Stacy watched Cindy go into her home, and that was the last time that has been confirmed that anyone saw Cindy alive. Now, Cindy had a roommate named Catherine Kim. Catherine returned home after visiting family, and she actually expected to find Cindy there. I guess they had plans to catch up after Catherine returned home. But when she got home, she discovered that the door was locked from the outside, and Cindy wasn't anywhere in sight. So she just assumed that Cindy went out for a bit and would be back later. But she never did return. And when Cindy started missing classes and her shifts at the restaurant she worked, her friends began to get very, very concerned. So they called the police. The police came and checked out the apartment. They discovered that Cindy's cell phone was still there, along with her backpack, and the fake eyelashes that she was wearing as part of her costume had been removed and left on the sink. But there was also no signs of a forced entry or any kind of fight or scuffle that may have happened in the apartment. But that's not saying that things weren't missing. Example, some things that was missing was her wallet, her purse, her ID cards, and her Halloween costume. Police believe strongly that Cindy probably made it into her house, or apartment rather, safe and sound, and then she voluntarily left again afterwards. Now, one of the more dominant theories is that she left her apartment to go to a local 24-hour grocery store called Giant Foods. It was maybe a 20-minute walk, so it wasn't that long of a walk. The thing is, there's no indication that she actually made it there. Now, one of the things that made this case so puzzling is that when she vanished, it was almost without any evidence. There's no real confirmed sightings, no digital footprints like phone activity or bank activity, no clothing, no DNA trail, and no body. For like about 25 years, there has been no confirmed trace. And of course, the police interviewed all her friends, including an ex-boyfriend, and they concluded that none of them had anything to do with what happened to Cindy. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't any leads, however. Like this one. A witness in the Philadelphia Chinatown claimed to see a young woman that matched Cindy's description crying and asked for help. She was being dragged or being controlled by an unknown man. The police did release a composite sketch of the guy, but he's never been identified. And a lot of the police aren't entirely convinced that that was even Cindy or anyone for that matter. It could have just been made up. Now, that's not saying they didn't have suspects, because they did. One of the more famous ones, or perhaps I should say infamous ones, was a guy named Hugo Zelinsky. Now, this guy, by no stretch of the imagination, could you ever consider to be a nice guy. In fact, he was accused of ending the lives of several individuals And when they checked out his place in Luzon County, they found the remains of several bodies, which led them to believe that he had many more victims. Now, why did they link Hugo to what happened to Cindy? Well, it seemed that Hugo had a friend, I guess you could tell him, or accomplice in a few of his crimes, named Paul Weekly. Now, Paul had told investigators that Hugo himself had told Paul that Hugo and another man named Michael Kolkowski, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, at any rate, that these two had actually abducted Cindy, to which she was taken over to her house. She was essayed, and she did not survive the trauma that they put her through. And later on, they disposed of her body. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, oh, geez, another jailhouse confession. Why do they even bother to listen to these guys? They're just hoping to get time knocked off from whatever sentence they'll that they are having to do. And normally I'd agree, but in this case, there was several reasons why the police actually believed what he was saying. Paul had some fairly accurate details when it comes to other crimes. I mean, he hasn't really led them astray when it came to it. Paul gave them some right-on information in regards to Hugo once they checked it out, including where the human remains would be found. And, of course, as I always said, they did find human remains on Hugo's land. Multiple bodies was actually found, in fact. But one body they were hoping to find that they didn't was Cindy's. She was not there. Of course, there was problems with the whole Hugo theory as well. Like, there was no physical evidence, no DNA, no belongings, or even the remains that they found at Hugo's place. None of them was Cindy's. Some believe that regardless how good his tips have been in the past, maybe old Paul was manipulating the police. Don't forget, he may have been helpful to the police on some cases, but he wasn't necessarily a good guy. And the investigators had also discovered that Paul actually researched Cindy Song's case before he actually talked to the police. So there's a possibility he gathered all this information just from different stuff he picked up offline in hopes of manipulating the police. The other thing about the whole Hugo theory is it really doesn't fit his pattern. He's more into robberies, and yes, he's ended the lives of people, but these, from what I understand, are mostly people he knew. Just randomly abducting a college woman isn't really his MO. Of course, there was other theories too, such as being obstructed by a stranger while she was on her way to the grocery store. That sort of remains as one of the most strongest theories they have. And that's not the only theory. There are some that theorize that perhaps Cindy may have actually known who had taken her. Say it was someone she believed to be a trusted friend. She's gone home, knock comes to her door, opens it, sees who it is, and says, "How are you?" And this guy says, "Not bad, Cindy. Just wondering, you're still up? Want to go take a walk?" And she says, "Yes." Exits, locks the door, and exits with it, and leaves with this person. Is that possible? Sure. Do we have any proof of it? No, unfortunately, no. And of course, whenever there's a disappearance such as Cindy's, one theory that inevitably pops up is the whole human trafficking theory, especially if you take into account that whole Chinatown sighting. Now, some people think that that was indeed Cindy and she was nabbed off the street by a trafficker. However, there's no actual evidence that human trafficking could be involved. And most police actually goes with the theory about how she was taken by and her life ended by a stranger. And another theory, of course, is that it could have been like a serial predator that was just passing through, seen Cindy walking down the street, and then took her. I mean, this could explain a lot, why there was no evidence and why there hasn't even been a body found. But the problem is there's also no evidence of that happening either. Now, of course, Cindy's family, in particular, her mother and brother, flew in from Seoul, Korea, once when Cindy went missing, and they were none too happy about how the police have been dealing with the investigation of Cindy's disappearance. They thought that early on the cops wasted too much time, that too much time elapsed before they did any kind of investigation, claiming that any surveillance cameras or footage that might have been there may have been lost because people have a tendency to overwrite the footage, like from stores and whatnot, which is, I suppose, a possibility. And they even thought that they didn't particularly care as much as they should have when it came to the investigation because Cindy was Korean. Now, with that being said, do I totally agree with that? No. I mean, don't get me wrong. I totally understand where the parents are coming from. I've never actually had to go through that myself, and I pray to God I never do. But I don't think I'd go as far as to say that they didn't do what they had to just because she wasn't white. And of course, was there a chance that she decided that she was just going to pack up and start a brand new life, or that she wanted to go and bring an end to her own existence under her own hands? No. There's absolutely no cause for anyone believing that. I mean, she was looking forward to graduating in 2002. She had plans, such as she had bought Britney Spears' concert tickets, which even back then, that was pretty expensive. I don't think anyone's going to do that if they're planning on doing themselves any kind of harm that would prevent them from seeing that concert. So, no, there's no chance that she just upped and left. Now, where's the case stand now? Well, it's open. It's a cold case, but still open. Cold case investigators do occasionally review it. And there has been periodic media revival as well as, well, YouTube videos like this that tries to keep it fresh in everyone's mind. A lot of those revivals occurs, of course, around Halloween anniversaries. As of now, there's been no arrests, no remains confirmed, and no suspects officially named by the police. Now, the most likely scenario, and it's actually one that not just the police agree with, most people do, including myself, was that she made it home, safe and sound, after being dropped off by a friend, then decided to make a trip to the Giant Foods, and somewhere between her apartment and the store, someone grabbed her. And chances are, unfortunately, probably took her life fairly quickly. Once again, we are left with tons and tons of questions, but so very few answers. Like, was the offender a random person? Or was it someone that Cindy knew? Was it someone from Hugo's circle? All these questions is what keeps this case open. Maybe some of these questions you yourself are able to answer. And with that in mind, if any of you have any information in regarding this case, please don't keep it to yourself. Call the Pennsylvania State Police at 814-355-7545. Once again, that's 814-355-7545. Remember, the tip you give may take a cold case and turn it into a solved case. Who was Cindy Song? A young lady that came to the States chasing the American dream. But what she found instead was a nightmare. Is she still alive? That I do not know. But after almost 25 years, I sort of have my doubts. No, I believe she was taken for some horrific deed. Perhaps by Hugo. If not him, then someone like him. Maybe someday, somewhere, somehow, she'll be found. Then, and only then, will her friends and her family finally know peace. What do you think? Do you think that it's possible that this Hugo cat did it? Or perhaps there was another stranger similar to him? Or do you think she actually knew who took her? Do you think this case will actually ever be solved? Let me know what your opinions are down in the comments. And while you're down there, if you have any suggestions on any other cases you'd like me to check out, let me know and I'll do my best. But I do want to thank you for sticking to the end. But before you go, if you could be kind enough to hit like, subscribe, and to share this video, because it really does help my channel out. And if you did like this video, incidentally, then maybe you're like one of the ones that's on your screen now. They're definitely worth the watch. Until next time, just remember, be you good or be you wicked, everyone deserves justice. Good night.